available. So these versions are nothing but the updated file. So the very first time they updated the file, they named it something, and then the next time they uploaded, they named it version 2.0, again 3.0 something. So we'll take the latest one, so latest version for it. So we'll go with the version number 7, and then you have all these different directories over here, right? So we are not going to go with the specific one. So these are basically CHR stands for chromosome, right? So chromosome number 1, chromosome number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 12. We are not going for specific chromosome. What we are going to do is that we are going to download all of the data, because we are going to look at all of the data, right? So we'll go for all.dir. So you'll go there. Here you have all of your data stored here, right? And we are going to basically look at with the GFF3 file. So you can see there are different kind of data. You have your cDNA libraries which has been created, your CDS. So CDS basically stands for coding sequence. So you have your coding sequence data here as well. You have your chromosome sequence as well. You have your GT3 interprofiling data as well, your locus data as well, like on which chromosome, what is the locus where you find your specific sequence, that is also stored there, right? So we are basically looking for your GFF3 file. So what you can do is just click your GFF3 file, right? And it will download it over here. Either you can do that, or another way to do it is you can just click on GFF3, right click here, and just do the copy link address. So copy it, go to Galaxy, here you just paste it. You paste the link, and as soon as you paste the link, just do start, right? So what it does, it is adding to your history. Now that it has added your file, just close this, and you can see it will take some amount of time to annotate the data depending upon your network connectivity. So it is annotating now. So what I'll do is I have already saved this file. So I'll just cancel it out right now because it will take a large amount of time. So I'll just close this one. And then what you can do is I'll just show you where the file is. So this is my file. So what I'll do is I'll just click over here. You can see your GFF3 file. What you can do is just view the data. Click on view the data. And here you can view all of the data that we have for our RICE one, right? So you can see chromosome number 1 and the source, where the source came from, what was the type of that thing. So whether it was a gene, whether it was an mRNA, whether it was an exon, whether it was a 5' UTR, whether it was a coding sequence, you get all of these things, right? Then you have your start and end sequence, where it started, where it ended. You have your score. Now this is empty right now because we haven't done your final sequencing as of now, right? So this is just the data that we have. So thereby score doesn't have anything, phase doesn't have anything. And then you have your attributes. So this attributes basically talks about your ID. So it assigns an ID. LOC basically stands for your locus, and corresponding to that locus, this is the address of that locus, like where your specific sequence is, right? So you have all these things for exon, and then the parent file. If it is a UTR file, if it is an exon. So you get all these data sets over here, and there's a huge set of data you can go and find out, right? So these are the data that you have now created, right? So now that we have explored the data from here, now what we are going to do is that you are going to go into this shared data. So what this shared data does is basically you go to shared data, and then here you have what is called as workflows. So click on workflows. What this allows you to do is that it will take you to another portal whereby globally people will upload their data. So people who are uploading their data, you actually get to see who are uploading what kind of data, right? So you can see there are different kind of name for the projects, and then the name of the owner who has uploaded their data, and then you can see when they updated it, 3 days ago, 4 days ago, 6 days ago, right? And there are different kind of data, like these are the names of the owner, and these are the different workflows that they have created. So you will find all the data sets over here which you are going to work with, or all the people who are working with NGS data, they upload their data over here, right? Now what you need to do is that you can search your specific file over here. If you know the name, you can search it. If you know the annotation number, you can search it by that as well. If you know the owner name, you can search it by that as well. So what we are going to do is that we are going to search for Tuxedo. So Tuxedo is the name of the owner who is basically working with this RICE1 file, right? So we'll just click and search for it. It will take some time, and then it will give you the output, whatever it is, right? So these are the 3 files that I have gone in the corresponding terms for Tuxedo. So what he has done is his ID name is bio ry guy, and whatever annotation that he has done in the name of Tuxedo DEG and corresponding to that. And then you can see when he has uploaded those files, and then you can see the last updated values when he has updated the values for those files, right? Now what I want is, you can see here we have replications. Now, the reason we are going for replication is when you're going for an NGS sequence analysis, you have to have a control sequence as well, right? Then only you can compare whether the sequence are working fine or not, because you have a control sequence, and control here, what means is you are growing rice in a normal condition, which is a normal condition for rice. That is a control. And then you're growing the rice in a stressed condition, and that is your test sample, right? So what we'll do is that we'll go for this one because it contains 3 replicates, which is much more than these two one. So what we'll do is that we'll go for this. So here in the downward arrow, you just click here, and then what you can do is that you can see a symbol called as import. So you just click on it. What it does that it imports all of the data corresponding to this particular file. It imports the data in your Galaxy server. So you can see now it shows that workflow. This has been imported. Now either you can go back to the previous page or you can use this workflow. So the workflow that is being created. So what I'll do is I'll click here. I'm going to use a workflow. So I'll click on this workflow. Now what workflow basically means is it will show you how the data is going to be standardized, how the data is going to be processed out, right? So for example, let's say we know that when you perform a DNA sequencing method, the workflow is that first you create a library, then you go for sequencing, then you go for data analysis. That is the workflow that is happening. In the same way in Galaxy servers as well, when you import a certain set of data and when you finally go for your sequence analysis, you have to have a certain workflow, right? So you can see that workflow as well. So what you can do is there's a small downward arrow over here. You just click over here. There is an option called edit, right? So you have download option as well. You can either download this file, you can rename this file, you can share it, you can again view it, delete it, copy it. I'm going with edit version, right? So just click on edit. What this will do is that it will take you to a new portal. It is saying loading workflow. Again, it depends upon the type of connectivity that you have. And you can see this is my workflow, right? In here, you can see I have different sort of data sets that I have available here, right? And corresponding to that, I have something called as, so this is the very first input data that I have, right? So the data starts from here, right? So data is starting from here that I have the GTF file that I uploaded. The data is start from here. And then you can see these lines are nothing but connecting the nodes. So you can see these are the nodes and these are the lines which are connecting one node to another one. Basically, it's a flow chart that shows how the process is going to take place. So your first process starts from here, and then your workflow goes over here, and it goes to these other values. So you can see all these are the different nodes over here, right? So these are all different nodes which you can see. And then I'll tell you what these nodes basically mean. So here is your FASTQ condition. So the input file that we have first imported by using our accession ID. So this was there. Once that file is imported over here, this file then goes to another category which is known as top hat. So you can just move it as well. You can shift it as well for your own convenience. You can just shift it over here so that it becomes easier for you to understand. Yeah, you can see this curve goes here, this line goes here. So this says that this FASTQ format is first processed, and then after that it will go into this top hat. What this top hat consists is the RNA sequence of the FASTQ file, the file that we have imported now, right? And these are the different things that in that file, what are the different things you are going to need? You have align summary, you have your insertions, deletions, splice junctions, your accepted hits value. You're going to you can specifically select one of these. If you're not selecting any of these, that means you are going with the default value. You are going for all the values. You're considering every value, right? So if you don't know for which specific value to go for, it is always recommended that don't tick anything, just go for the overall view, so that you have a better understanding of how the process is basically happening, right? Now once this top hat is done, after the top hat data then goes to another data which is known as your cufflinks. Now what this cufflinks basically has, it has your RNA sequence reads. So once this RNA sequence file is processed, it goes into cufflinks. This cufflinks will consist of your data set, your transcript expression. You can again, let me just move it over here. Yeah. So it has all your gene expression data, your transcript expression data, your assembled transcripts data, your total map mass of your data that you have, your sequences, and then you have your skip transcripts. In the same way, you can look for all the different data sets as well, right? So what this shows that when we imported the file, so whatever data sets were there, it has already categorized all those data based upon different nodes and internodes, right? So these are the data sets. Once all of these things are done, you find all these nodes are getting converged into this one file. You see, all these nodes are getting converged into this one file, and then this particular node is known as cuff merge. That means it is merging all the data, Once these data are processed out, these data are merged over here, that is known as cuff merge, and the cuff merge then generates a file in the format of GTF file, which is basically the final file that we want, right? And after the cuff merge, you can again see the final output goes over here, cuff compare. So it basically now compares. So here the comparison happens between your control one and your test file, that is a stressed condition one. And then you finally go for your cuff diff, that means your final output. So you have condition one, we have two replicates, we are going to change our conditions over here as well. So this is basically the outflow, this is basically the workflow that is being shown. We haven't started our analysis as of now, right? So this shows what is going to happen over here. The coding sequence overloading will be happening here, promoters differentiate expression will be happening here, splicing differential equation will be happening here. So all those data sets will be happening over here, and this is the final node once you upload all your data sets, right? Now, once you upload all your data sets, the next thing is that you are going for is that you have imported this. Now you are editing and seeing a scuff flow. Then you have this play button over here which says run workflow. So you are just going to click this run workflow, right? And then it might ask you changes you made may not be saved. So let's say okay, yes, and then leave, and then it's saving workflow. Just a second. Okay, so I have already a workflow basically going on. So now it says loading workflow run data. So it is now loading, right? So it says this workflow data has been now loaded out over here, right? Then it asks you to save. So obviously you are going to save it because you are dealing with a very huge amount of data set and you don't want that data set to just go to waste, right? So it's always advised to save it. So I've already saved it, my data sets. And then you can see your different kind of data sets over here, right? This is the FASTQ, dump format, all the different kind of data sets are there. The cuff compare data sets. So these are nothing but the nodes and internodes that we saw before. That is only what we are going to see here, right, in the final format. And then this is going to ask you certain questions, RNA sequence based. Now, the major thing over here to note is that you have to select a reference genome as well. Now, you see the reference genome has been selected for baboon, but we are working with rice, right? So what you are going to do is that you're going to click over here, type R, and it will take you to the R section. And here you can see that rice option is there, right? So you'll just click on rice. So you have selected the reference genome because you are working with rice and you don't want it to reference with humans or dogs or cats, right? So you want to work with rice itself. So you have to give a certain reference genome as well. Now you don't need to do this for one file. You have to do this for every file that you have uploaded, right? So always scroll down, right? And then you will see for every file that you have uploaded, you have something this here. Again, go for R, search rice, click on rice, again go down. This is again select reference file, go to R, then select rice over here, again go down. You have this one, again select R and go for rice, and then again go down and you have baboon, then go out there, select R, and then you go for rice, and then again this file, sorry. So you have rice over here, right? So these are the 6 files that I've uploaded, and for all of those things I have uploaded my specific this one reference genome as well, that is rice. And this is the nothing but the name of the data type, that is Sam and Ban. Now you're going to give the conditions, right? So the first condition is your normal conditions, that is your control one, and the second condition that we are working for is the stressed one, the stressed condition, that is basically we are looking for, right? And then let's keep everything to the default values. So these are all the default values. If you want, you can change all those default values. You have different values over here, like library normalization methods. It is geometric method. Basically, geometric method is preferred as compared to other logarithmic or exponential methods, because then geometric method, gives out a very nice curve that you want. You have your dispersion estimation methods. You have your false discovery rate. So false discovery rate has been lowered down in order to get an accurate result, not the false results, right? And then you just scroll down over here, and then you say there's an option called as apply length correction. Once you go and you see there are 3 kinds of data set that is available for you. Either you can select a no length correction. Now, the thing with no length correction is that if you don't know what length you are going to work with, you can obviously select for a no length sequence. But what happens with a no length sequence is that the data that you will get is a very scattered data. Those data are not like accumulated and not accurate data. You will get a scattered data, and based on that scattered data, you can't interpret your right results, right? So that's why people don't go with the no length correction. You can go for standard length correction as well, but that standard length correction will give you a standard data set, right? So it is an accurate data, but that is a standard data. It is not very, diversified data or very specific data. So people go with cufflinks. And the reason we are going with cufflinks is because in the workflow we saw that the final node was getting converged into the cufflinks, and we just want for that data. So we are going for the cufflink effective length correction. So whatever data that is going to be run, it is based on the cufflinks that we have provided in the previous workflow. So based on that workflow, the cufflink data set will be taken out, and whatever length and corrections are there, those will be imported over here. So once everything has been done, you can just like go through it again to see everything has been set out right, and then just click on run workflow, right? Then it will send your workflow over to your server, and then it successfully invoked workflow. Now what happens is that this data set is a very huge data set, so it might take around 2 days for you to get the right result, right? You can see I have ran one sample over here before, like it has almost taken me, it hasn't even completed. So I have ran a sample which was a day before yesterday, but it is still haven't completed. And the reason being that sometimes what happens is these servers are really busy because globally people are uploading their data on these servers, right? So what happens is when people upload the data, let's say 5 people are uploading the data simultaneously. So what happens is it is a first come first serve basis. So whoever's data reaches first, it goes into the line and that data starts processing, and rest of the 4 people are on queue right now. So that is what, we can say server overloading basically happens here, right? So I have ran a sample 2 days before, but it is still haven't given me the right result. It is still running. You can see it is still loading right now, right? And I have run this one. I don't know when this one will get. So what happens is when you're dealing with a large amount of data set, which like data sets which are like 10 GB or 15 GB or 16 GBs here, those data sets really take a large amount of time for you to interpret the right results, right? That is what happens over here. Now what happens is once you get the final result, you will get something like this. So those data that I have obtained, you will get something in this green format. So once you again log into your user in Galaxy user, you will get something like this in the green color, and that shows that your data has been now run smoothly. Now what you can do is you can go for your data analysis. So here it is taking some time, so it will generate a data file. Now what happens in that data file, you will go over here, a data file will be created over here. Once you click on it, there will be an Excel sheet over here. You can download that Excel sheet, and I can just show you a very basic type of an Excel sheet of how it might look like, the final data set that we are working with. So let me just show you the file over here. So obviously this is a different file, a different Excel file that I'm showing you, but it is the same format. The format in which the data that you will be getting, it is the same format, right? So what happens here is, right? So what happens over here is you have these data sets over you here. So in the same way, what happens, the first thing that you get is the accession number, that is 1 2 3 4 5 6, that is get. Second will be your chromosome number that we are getting here. So the data that we visualized over here, where was the data? Yeah. Just take some time. Yeah. So in Excel sheet, what happens is the same thing you will be getting, right? The same thing. Sequence ID will be there in the same way. Source will be there here. Type will be there. Start will be there. End will be there. But this time you will be having a definitive score value as well, because this was without running, right? Now we have ran the sample. You will get a score. You will get a phase value. These will be the same thing because the locus value won't change, and a new column will be added over here which talks about the attributes in the sense that whether your working was fine or not, whether your stressed samples were actually giving you the right result as compared to the control result or not. So the control that we were running, right? So you'll get two columns, one for control and one for stress, right? What you can do is that you can all just copy all of this thing, paste it in the Excel file, and then correspondingly, let's say you are going for these two, then create a graphical representation of these two data sets, and then that is the final thing that you get out in the NGS server, right? So it will take certain amount of time for you to run. Sometime it takes 3 days, sometime it takes 4 days for your whole data set to be like done. And with whatever email ID that you have registered, you will get a notification on an email ID once your this workflow has been completed. So Galaxy server will contact you on your email ID saying that this is the link. Here you can go and check your final data sets. These are the outputs. You can just go and log into your data set. Your output will be over here. It will be the same thing, just the same thing with the score and phase value changed. And there will be two columns, one for your control and one for your stressed conditions, right? And then you can just copy all of these things together into an Excel format. Just select these two columns for control and the stressed condition, create a graph, and then from that graph, it will give you a final better understanding of how to interpret the data and how your data is looking, whether it is looking nice or whether it is looking not, right? So in this way, you basically go for the data analysis using your NGS, right? So I hope you guys understood the basic format of this Galaxy server. Obviously, in the very first go, it won't be like that much understandable. But obviously, once you start practicing it enough and enough again and again, then obviously you will get a hands-on experience with how to use Galaxy. Obviously, you can go for different servers which are there as well. Apart from Galaxy, there are different kind of servers are there. What you can do is that you can just go out there and type NGS softwares, and will provide you different kind of NGS softwares, list of bioinformatics software tools for next generation sequencing, and you have all the different kind of data sets which are available over here, right? The same thing you can go for Strand, NGS, CLC, Genomics Workbench, DNXS, Ingenuity, LaserGene, NextGen, Patrick. So these are all the different kind of softwares which are available for you to use freely, right? So you can obviously go for those things. You can again, so here what you have seen, here we have done a RNA sequencing basically, right? Because our data set that we imported was an RNA sequencing database. In the same way, you can go for your DNA sequencing databases as well. You can just go to NCBI, download the file from there, import all the data sets over here. So just search for over here, import the data sets, go for your NGS analysis. Just make sure your internet connectivity is really good. And the very first thing is you have to create your user account over here. Then only Galaxy will be allotting you a defined amount of memory to store all of your data sets, right? Because the files are really large. And I would personally recommend not to download any specific file, because that would take a large amount of files to be downloaded, and unnecessarily it will take a huge amount of memory or space on your desktop or your laptop. Yeah, sure. So I'll just, you can just ask the Live Bio committee. They can share you the recorded files as well. You can ask them. I think they will be sharing. I think, Tane, am I audible? Tane? I think Tane is not there. Altaf, are you there? Yeah, I think yeah, Altaf?
Yeah, Tane here.
Yeah, Tane, hi. Can you share them they're asking for the recorded lecture. Can you share the recording with them?
Yeah, sure. After the lecture is over, I'll be sharing them the recording along with the certificates.
Sure, no issues. Yeah, okay, man. So how do you choose your data sets? So, okay, see the reason that how you choose your data set, let me just give you a very brief example. So let's say, just a second. Yeah. So let's say you are working with RAT. Okay. So what you need to do is, and you first, for that we need to follow research. Yeah, definitely. Correct. Definitely. You have to follow research paper. But the very first thing in your mind should be what specifically you are looking for, right? For example, let's say when you're looking for a cancer cell, okay, and when you're going for a genome sequencing or a DNA sequencing, you have to have a basic understanding of what you can expect in the output, right? Then only accordingly you can predict what you can change in the DNA sequences, right? And then get your desired output accordingly. So in the same way, when you're going for NGS, the very first thing in your mind should be what should be my final aim, or what should I expect out of it. Let's say I'll give you a very brief example. Let's say if you're working with rat, okay, and you have your cell line for a rat. You have, let's say you are generating a cell line for rat which has a tumor, liver tumor, right? And then you have a control sample for that as well. You have a control rat as well, right? Now let's say what you want to do is that you want to see the mechanics of how the tumor process proteins, the tumor proteins are basically undergoing the molecular mechanism, and how it is altering the genetic sequence of the mouse in order to render it a cancerous tissue, right? So that is what you first have to understand, and for that you have to go through the research papers that talk about the mechanism behind that, right? Now let's say you go with the research paper A that talks about this mechanism. So now that you've understood the mechanism, that okay, this is how this happens, this is the mechanism behind the molecular mechanism behind this cell or this tissue becoming a cancerous one, right? Now that you know that, so the next step is that you have to isolate that particular tissue. Let's say you are going with liver, okay? So what you will do is that you will isolate the liver after surgery. You will go for the defragmentation of the liver tissues using various methods are there for the normal one, that is a control sample, as well as for the tumorous sample as well, right? And then you can obviously go for the DNA sequencing so as to see what are the sequence changes that happen between the control one and the cancerous one, right? Because then the DNA sequencing will give you the final output result whereby you can see the DNA sequence and then you can predict and say that, oh, from position number 10 to 5 mutation happened and that's why this rat became cancerous and this one didn't become the cancerous one, right? So that is how you will then finally select the data sets. Now what happens here is that the paper you are following, you can always search that paper on NCBI and see whether those people have submitted a data set for their genomic sequencing or not, right? And obviously those papers will also be referring certain other papers, right, in their materials and methodology sections, or where they are discussing the genomic sequences. They will be telling about the references as well, right? So what you can do is that you can go and select that reference, put that reference ID in the NCBI, search that paper and see whether those people have submitted the genomic sequence data or not. If they have submitted the genomic sequence data, then it becomes really easy for you because they have that file SRA file number there, and then you can just go over here in the Galaxy server, type your SRA file number over here, import all the data sets, and then just do your sequence analysis or compare it with whatever sequencing analysis that you are basically doing, right? Is it clear? Yeah, definitely you'll have to follow it's not that you will just rely upon one paper. You have to follow multiple papers, obviously. That is the foremost thing. Yeah, for multiple data sets. Yeah, because what happens is, you can change certain parameters and your whole data set will be changed, right? For example, let's say for a control one will be the same for everything, but let's say if you change the cell lines of the mouse and if you change certain parameters, your whole data sets will be changed, right? So if you have to look at that specific point of view, because you don't know what kind of mutation will result in what kind of cancerous thing, right? There might be certain mutations which are here and there, and depending upon that mutations, you can't rely on just one data sets, right? If you're just going with one data set and then saying that based on that data set my results are true, no one will accept that because you haven't screened out your data with multiple data sets, right? So you have to screen your data with multiple data sets, let's say 5-6 data sets, and then you can say that based on these multiple data sets my results are in accordance with them, and then you can finally say that my results are this, and then that basically gives a credibility to your results, right? It's just that the same way you go for an experimental work, right? When you do an experimental work and when you submit your manuscript, there are different committee which repeat the same experiment again based on your methodology that you have written in the manuscript, right? And then they see whether the same results are happening or not. If the same results are occurring, then obviously your whatever you have done is the right way to do it, right? If the same results are not happening, then obviously you must have manipulated the data, then that is not accepted. So in the same way, before finally presenting your data set, you have to have you have to screen multiple data sets in order to be sure that your data set is the right one and the right results are being shown over here. Is that clear? Okay, thank you. So I hope I thank you again for all of you taking your time out and attending this webinar. I hope this was very information for you guys. And if you have just go to our so just go to our website LifeGen Bio. You will find various kind of courses which are there, and and this is the time I think we should invest in NGS our time, because this is the time when biotech industries are changing, right? So yeah, so just give all of your into it, and NGS is a really nice field. You can explore a large set of data, and who knows, the next breakthrough might be coming from your side only. So I would definitely recommend you guys to go with NGS, be updated with the latest technologies and latest industrial things as well. Okay. Yeah, so I would recommend you to go with the, what you can do is you can, on Google, you can go with the Illumina Technologies. So Illumina is basically a company that basically provides you all the sequencing arrays, right? And these you will find certain references over here as well. Otherwise, the very best thing is you can obviously go with the Google Scholar and search different data sets or for there as well. Or if you want references, let's say you want NGS uh, data for anything. Let's say you want NGS data for rats, something like this, right? So there will be different, the Google Scholar data links or papers out there. Definitely read that papers. For example, here's a Nature paper, genomes and phenomes for population of rats. Just go there, read the different references out there. It will help you understand NGS in a much more better way, right? Okay then. Yeah, if you're not using server, I guess okay, so yeah, you can directly do that as well. If let's say if you're not using any online server, you can obviously go with your R data sets, R packages which are there at this, and R is basically a very nice way to interpret your NGS data sets. So you can definitely go with R Studios as well. It's just that sometimes what happens is the only thing that I would be concerned while using an R package is the server that you are basically using, right? Because for that you have to have a large amount of server data and you have to have a good computational speed basically in order for you to run all of your samples data. But definitely you can go for R packages as well. That is one way you can go. Uh, I think you can go for personal laptops as well. But the thing is, your laptop will be really slowed down because the same thing happened with me as well. Because when I was doing the same experiments over my laptop, and basically I was using, R as well. But what happened was the amount of RAM that my laptop took was really large, right? And it slowed down my laptop really like my laptop was not even opening properly. Like to open up my laptop, it was taking around 10 minutes for it to open up properties, right? So that is not advisable from my side, but yeah, see the same thing is happening, right? So what you can do is that you can obviously go for the servers, RAM and stuff. You can obviously go for the servers, and let's say if you have an access to a server, let's say if you're working at an institution, academic institution, good academic institutions, they have different servers stored over there. You can obviously access those servers if they provide you with their login ID and those things, and you can go for that. And if you're going for a server, I would definitely recommend you to go for a parallel node simulations so that it speeds up your process and multiple process might take happen at the same place, right? You can go for that as well. Personal laptop, I wouldn't recommend that because RAM is a major step out there, and it would take you. Okay, so what I think, yeah, so NGS definitely has a major attribute in virology, and let's say if you are talking about CRISPR technology as well here, right? So what you can do is, for example, you to mainly answer your question about reducing the off-target effects. So I think I would definitely need much more data into this. If you can explain me what by off-target effect you specifically mean, so that I could help you out with final output. If you can just tell me what by off-target effect, what specifically you are meaning.
So what I mean is that off-target effect, that your RNA is meant to induce an effect at specific site, but what if goes to something some else side which it is not meant when induces in some kind of a effect? It's off-target effect.
Okay, got it. Right. Yeah. So definitely, what you can do is then at that point of time, and that actually happens as well, right? For example, when you're doing an NGS analysis and when you are doing a sequence analysis, sometimes what happens is there are results which you're not, let's say on target results, right? You don't get on target results every time. You get off target results as well, whereby which is not the expected results, and that reduces your yields a lot. Right? A large amount of yield is reduced a lot. So at that time, what you can do is you can definitely, I think that will be a really good idea to combine CRISPR along with NGS, right? So what you can do at that point of time, what I can think of is you can combine CRISPR to cut short your specific DNA sequence which is of your interest, let's say, and then just apply that specific sequence for your NGS analysis, right? So there is no point in, you know, incorporating any other irrelevant data in that particular sequence.
Yes.
Then it will obviously optimize your result much more in that. So basically, what we are doing is you're optimizing your DNA sequence as well, which is only of your interest sequence. We are not going with the junk DNAs or unwanted sequences. Then obviously you can go for that, and you know, it would give a good yield. I think that would be a really nice thing to do.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. So I think yeah. So I think this is it for it now. So thank you guys. Thank you again for attending today's yeah. So thank you again for attending today's webinar. It was really information, and thank you all for joining together. So if you other things will be communicated to you by Tanay and the team. So they will convey you everything else regarding the certificates and the recording lectures. Okay. So thank you guys again, and have a nice day. Be safe. Okay. Thank you.